Hey, G. Someone's bright and early.
Ouija board. Oh, no. I am not dead. Ouija board yesterday.
Young Daniel, how are you, mate?
Good. How are you, Tony? It's almost like I can see you. You're
Yeah,
that
exactly
close.
right. You're a lucky thing looking at the back of my head all day.
It's beautiful.
I've had it described as other things, mate, not beautiful. But thank you.
Shiny.
Johnny. Okay, Jack. Hey, Lise.
Polish her out.
Allie's coming on.
I like your little thingy.
Yeah,
Why don't you get one of those
I
standard?
got one at home. I just yesterday I had a sore back. So I was like,
Probably because you're going like that.
yeah, and driving on it.
Cement's here. Allie's here.
Submit.
Cement is in the house. Jeff's about to join us. Let him on in. Jared.
Oh, I like the fact that I laughed at that now.
Stokesy. Leah. G'day, Adrian. How are you, mate?
G'day. Yeah, g'day. Who's that?
Tony Rathbone, mate. Welcome. Sorry, mate. I got David Gray's title, buddy. Just to confuse you.
Oh, okay.
Big
Nah,
shoes,
all
Bowie.
good.
Big shoes.
That's it.
right.
That's it.
Huge
That's it.
shoes.
Yeah, no problem. Captain, I can see there it says Captain David Gray. I love it. Love it.
I've got me playing license, Bowie.
Oh, yeah, I've noticed that. That's fantastic, mate.
Yeah, I haven't
Love
got my
it.
nabs yet, so I can only go around the block, but it's still good fun.
I'd
You'd be great in a little plane, wouldn't you? You'd be great.
love it, mate. I'd love it. Cruise around, you know. Where do you use it for Sydney and back, or?
No, I haven't yet. I've gone up to casino in it, and I'll start using the flight to
Oh.
Ballina. I was going to fly to Ballina 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And then COVID happened and things. But
Okay.
I'll start using it to go. I'll be leaving a car up at Ballina Airport, using it
Right,
back
right.
and forth.
Okay. So
And then
are you
I'll do
allowed?
my NAVs, but I've got to get to Queensland to do the NAVs course. There's a 2-week
What-
course up in Queensland. So
What's the NAB? What's that?
that's so you can go out bush. In reality, mate, you just use sat nav anyway. You'll never use it. But
Okay.
it's the old
Yeah.
reading the maps and all that. It's
Oh, okay. You got to
pretty-
have that skill set. Yeah,
pretty-
yeah.
What's it like to be out of jail, buddy?
Mate, to be honest, it's like interesting as a metaphor. I actually, my life did not change, not one bit. Like,
Yeah.
I continued the entire time to do coaching sessions in person. I continued without fail to do listing appointments, auctions. The only thing that changed for me, and this is a mindset thing for me, that I just refused to cooperate and participate. And the only thing that changed for me was online auctions and not going out for restaurants at dinner. That's it. That was the only change for me.
How about
I just
gym?
refused to
What did you do for
cooperate.
gym? What did you do for gym?
I've got a gym at home. I've got a gym at home.
Beautiful.
So yeah, so I actually just refused to cooperate. And I think a lot of people, like as a metaphor, really got consumed in it and cooperate. And it's a big word. It's a big word used with the Stoics, in terms of, choosing to participate, choosing to cooperate in events, in what people say, because the only way it can affect you if you do cooperate or participate. And it's not digging your head in the sand or being ignorant. It's just a mindset, So yeah, it was really.
Yeah, it's like if you ever study the people that got out of concentration camps, didn't they? They chose not to participate in it. They weren't the optimistic ones. The optimistic ones died pretty quick. They were ones that realised where they were, but just kept their mind free, which is pretty deep.
It's exactly
Thursday morning, Bowie. Pretty deep.
No, what's funny
I love a bit of daily Stoic, mate. I read it every day.
Totally. Yeah. No, it's funny because the first book I ever read front to back was A Man's Search for Meaning, and by Viktor Frankl, and that was I was just hooked on. It was only a very small book, but he was one who did survive this concentration camp, and he just constantly played with that in his head that he didn't participate, didn't cooperate. It was just a really good lesson for life,
Yeah.
So
and I suppose in a much smaller space, but something that I'm working on. I don't know that a lot of people are affected by it. When you work in a small community, there's lots of noise. You can worry about your competitors. You can worry about what the town thinks of you. You can worry about this. You can worry about that. And it's something that I'm working on myself. It used to affect me a bit, but I'm participating a lot more than I used to.
Yeah, well, there you go. Well, that's why I'm saying it's a metaphor, because it actually relates to every part of your personal life and your business life, because the white noise out there is incredible. And to me, that equates to the outer marketplace, which Dr. Fred Gross used to talk about. But the only marketplace that exists is actually the inner marketplace. And, I don't say this to impress people, and I know we're already started the session, but, for 26 years straight, I managed to connect 120 buyers with 120 sellers. And during that 26 years, I've got to tell you, if I participated in the white noise, which was prices high, prices down, interest rates high, interest rates low, the McGrath brand performing well, the McGrath brand not performing well, I wouldn't have been able to do it. So I just focused on what I could control, which was great customer service, being early to appointments, having great energy, being process driven, focusing on my prospecting, not getting too caught up on, what prices were doing. Like, I knew that if I had my set to sell, and I knew that if I had my weekly face-to-face with my vendors, it wouldn't really matter what prices were doing, because I made sure that, if I was displaying evidence of effort, then when that magic day come, whether it's day 4 of the campaign or day 44, when I said, you know what, David, it's been a comprehensive campaign. We've had 48 groups through, 3,000 web views, 4 offers. My genuine and honest professional recommendation is we proceed with this offer. Very hard to question that, when you've displayed evidence of effort. It's the agents who try and display evidence of market before displaying evidence of effort who get stuck, because
about 20 acres out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you mute, please, Jared?
But we've been here for about 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
One sec.
Jared's got a mute. Yeah. So it's the agents, Dave, who start smashing the vendor with offers and feedback and it's 2 bedrooms too small and this and that. It's like, well, you haven't actually displayed much effort first,
Yeah, my dog was, you got to earn it. You got to earn it.
That's right.
Production.
Yeah. So I think that, for that particular point, display evidence of effort before you display evidence of market. That will help a lot of people in that order. I think agents do it, but they just get the order wrong.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a bit off topic from some of the questions I had, but I mean,
that's okay.
It's a really good one because it's really relevant. And as I always say, like, one of the biggest things I know, like me being a vendor, and you know, a couple of like I had what's his name? Anyway, a couple of people mark it, and then the next week they'd come back and go, oh, the third bedroom's small, or it's on the main road, or it's. I'm like, I'm pretty sure it was like that fucking last week. I'm pretty sure it didn't fucking change. Did the bedroom shrink? You know, the evidence that we need to bring back is Bob Smith looked at the property, Sue's looked at it, Mr. Chan's looked at it. You know, we looked at it with an agent's hat. You look at it with a seller's hat. These are the buyer's hats, and this is what they're saying. It's not us. And I think a lot of agents come back, oh, the land's too small. Well, mate, all those attributes were there a week ago, you dickhead. And it's really important. That's right.
Yeah.
Cool, mate.
But not to mention on that point, just while we wrap up that point, like they're what I call providing subjective metrics to the vendor, because they are subjective. Because, so, you know, bedroom being too small, that doesn't mean that that's not going to suit every buyer. That could be perfect for a nursery or an office or whatever, right? But so when you move away from subjective metrics and provide objective metrics, which is like, you know what, Dave? So let's say the outcome or the ideal scenario for that agent was to get a price reduction. Let's assume that was his intention or her intention. Then you're better off saying, Dave, you know what, buddy? We've had, and I'll show you, I've had 4,000 web views online. I've had 36 email inquiries. I've logged 34 calls and I had 6 people through. So the ratio's out a bit. So they're objective metrics, which are telling me the dismissal rate is too high. So I'm not happy about that. I would rather that ratio of objective metrics versus physical inspection numbers increase. And I know if that happens, we're going to have more contracts, more offers, regardless of what level they're at. At least I can give you an opportunity to consider more. You know, that's a better, more scientific place to come from rather than just, you know, that subjective place.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Now, just to let you know, next session we're going to do with Adrian, just so you know where we're at. We're going to be talking about EBUs, and you might be thinking, what's the relevance to you if you've just started out, or maybe you don't want an EBU? But actually understanding an EBU, whether you're one person or 3 or 5, you're still running an EBU. You're still running a business unit. So we'll actually talk about that in our next session, which I'm really excited. Today, I just thought I'd go over a few little questions. Mate, Bowie, I've been doing a lot of work with Jackie and Jeff and all that sort of stuff. And I know even personally, my question to them at the moment is I've found some happiness and peace. And it's like, well, then how do you keep hungry? And, mate, I was down at Camden Haven in particular on Wednesday. Mate, across the board, their results are fantastic. We're ticking along. You know, last month, I think 5 of us wrote over 100, which was, you know, up here is huge. It's beautiful and I'm happy. How do we keep that fire when we're comfortable and we're going good? You know, how do we keep that peace and happiness and gratitude on our success? But how do we keep going? How do we make sure that we don't drop that ball?
Yeah, look, it's a really common question, and you know I get this asked a lot, obviously because I've been doing it for 32 years, and my energy levels, you know, at least from a perceived level, always seem to be really high, and I'm always seem to be hungry and energetic, which is mostly true. There's no doubt I've had times where, you know, you feel a little bit burned out, or you can become a bit complacent off the back of a good month or whatever it might be. So I think you know the 3 things that I always relate to is number 1, you've always got to be on purpose. So what does that mean? It means you know, forget you know, the old cliche of, you know, if you love what you do, you'll never work another day in your life. I mean, I don't mind that, but it's a big cliche. On purpose actually means, you know, on a daily basis, not this sort of big, sort of fantastic dream that you're living, but on a daily basis, meaning, you know, buyer calls, vendor listing appointments, price reductions, you know, is that your highest and best use in your working career, you know? And frankly, I think, you know, for the main, it is, because you look at the type of income that you can earn from doing that, it would be very, very difficult to match that in corporate Australia or blue collar Australia, right? Not to mention the type of activities and governance and accountability and you know, the boring factor of sitting in a cubicle in corporate Australia and not going out and seeing beautiful properties and meeting interesting people. I'm not saying you've got to love, you know, 100% of your job, but if you tolerate 10% and really feeling on purpose for 90% of it, that's realistic and that's being on purpose, you know. So I think being on purpose is really, really, really critical. And are you performing at your highest and best use for your career? And that could sort of segue, Dave, into the EBU section where it's like, you know what, there's actually some stuff I do which I actually despise doing, whether it's, you know, pest and building reports or you know, pre-settlement inspection. Well, you know what? I went through that, you know, and that's why I built teams, because, you know, every little thing that I looked to delegate, which I thought my business was going to go backwards, all it did was double. And, you know, the first thing was delegating buyer work. Then it was delegating, you know, callbacks. And then it was delegating. I'm not saying that everyone should be doing that, because callbacks in particular are highly dollar productive. But once you reach a certain scale, you know, there's no doubt that if you delegate certain tasks to people who are on purpose by doing that, say an associate absolutely loves dealing with buyers, well, they're probably going to do a better job than you, because they're going to have more patience, more purpose, and more attention to detail. So make sure that you are on your highest and best use, which for most agents is being in front of people who are looking to buy and sell, or calling people that are looking to buy and sell. Like, just keep it really simple. And make sure that, you know, if you need to tolerate the other parts of it, that's fine, or delegate, you know, tolerate or delegate to remain on purpose. I think that's a much better framework, because it's a day-to-day framework. You've got to get out of bed every day and actually enjoy most activities that you do, you know. So I think that's really important.
To say, you know, you're writing 500 in your, I mean, at the moment, this business is operating at a level that I'm happy with. And I suppose what scares me in a way is, I think if we're not going forwards and we're going backwards, and I just thought about that in this question, I'm going to reframe it and see what you think. Let's say you want to write 500, you're happy with writing 500. If you're not going to go forwards and keep going forwards and keep pushing, then you really need to know your metrics of writing that 500, don't you? You need to know if it's you know, 150 calls a week, if it's that many appraisals, whatever you break that down to, and then you just got to stick to your numbers. If you want to write 500 and 500 only, how do you stick to that level? You know, like, would it be knowing your metrics?
It is, and I would rather look, frankly, Dave, you know, at volume of sales rather than GCI, because, you know, volume of sales is and that segues into EBU. That's because I've got because markets are all different. You know, your market is different so I think the outcome should be volume of sales, to be honest with you. And let's say volume of sales is 30. I don't know, with that to me per 30 per year as a metric is where I look at most agents and say, above 30, it's actually quite difficult to do on your own, right? Because you could do it. You could do 41 year or more. The challenge is, it's highly likely that, given we know everything that relates to doing a transaction, you know, there's just so much work involved around, you know, the settlement side of it, the pre-settlement, the post-sale valuation, prospecting, and to maintain your prospecting, right? So what's likely to happen, Dave, if you attempt to do more than 30 on your own, there's one of three things which are likely to be cannibalized, right? Number one is you're likely to have leakage in your business, i.e. lack of prospecting on past clients, past buyers, pipelines, right? Number two, the customer service level is likely to drop a fraction, which no one wants, right? And number three, you're likely to actually personally burn out a little bit, right? So I think, to me, when people ask me, when should I put the next team member? When should I put my first team member? I always say to them, hey, if you want to do more than 30 transactions per year, or you've got a database of more than 3,000 that needs to be serviced, then that's a team member. So they're my two metrics for EBU, is 30 transactions, 3,000 data, because it's impossible to service. There's no use having a database of 3,000 and then they don't get regular calls, because the most sickening thing, as you know, is you've got someone in your database, you don't have time to call them, and then suddenly you see that listing pop up with another agent. You're like, you know what? I may not have got the listing, but at least if I pitched for it, I was a bloody chance. But I know I didn't get it because I didn't call them, right? And that's a sickening feeling. And you've gone to the effort expense of creating that data either through marketing or prospecting. Either way, it's cost you money because time is money and marketing is money. So I think that's probably what we need to focus on, is more that sort of 30 transaction.
Yeah, cool. Now, mate, I'm going to ask questions a little bit different just to break it up a bit.
Yeah, go for
it. We've both worked in the East, and we've worked with a lot of guys that made a lot of money, and we've seen them spend it quicker than they made it. You know, I know at different stages in your life, you build up a portfolio, and then as other people did, hard time, and you've come back and then build up a beautiful house and other investments. McGraths don't really have an investment culture. I was lucky enough to work with the Wogs, and obviously it's a different type of culture and pro investment. Our team, I'm seeing some of the checks we're writing for some of the guys, and I want to make sure they're putting it away, not just to invest, but also to look after rainy days. Talk to me about your world and investment and the importance of, now make sure that we've,
Yeah, look, I'm an open book, Dave. In early on when I was making a lot of money as a young guy, I bought quite a lot of strata apartments, and then it reached a point where market changed a little bit. I was probably a bit highly leveraged, and I offloaded those assets, some of those assets. But at least the assets were there to offload for that rainy day, which was good. Interest rates, in those days were a little bit scary. So, but I saw it as a positive because what I found out is I hated dealing with strata property, and I ended up reinvesting in sort of little terraces in the inner west, which worked out quite well. And even as recently as a couple of years ago, when I went through some adversity and had a lot of legal bills and income stopped for a while, one of those assets was available to offload, and that's fine. And I can easily say, oh, it's worth more now and all that, but it doesn't really matter. Like it was there for that rainy day as well. So there's always going to be a rainy day. I think the best wealth creation strategy is list and sell property to buy property. There's no doubt about it, right? Like, so at some point, everyone used to say to me, oh, why don't you open your own office? And I'm like, well, why do I want a rent roll with a receptionist and a photocopier that gives me headaches when I can list and sell and buy 1 or 2 investment properties a year that the capital growth is a lot higher, and it actually gives me no headaches. You know what I mean? So that was my response. And sure, if I had an ego, it probably wouldn't have been a great response, because a lot of people say, oh, no, I want my name on the, up in lights and on the, and I wasn't interested in that. I was just more interested in listing and selling real estate so I could buy more real estate. And frankly, the more real estate you buy and sell yourself is actually an outstanding way to be more empathetic and more understanding of what the transaction looks like for every buyer and seller you're dealing with. I tell you what, there's no doubt that the more real estate you buy and sell, you're going to be that when you're selling a property, even if you're an agent, there's nothing else you're thinking about apart from that. So that's what that family's doing that you're representing. Every night at dinner, they're talking about it, right? So they're hanging on your every word, every SMS, every email. So, it's nothing to take lightly. It's a really, really important responsibility that you've been stewarded with.
And I mean, I love in the lounge room now. It's like, well, mate, I've bought at auction, I've sold at auction, I've developed, I've renovated, I've bought my own plate. Like when you're actually sitting in a lounge room and you've bought different asset classes, you're at so much comfort in front of every client. I mean, I was lucky enough to work with the ethnics and they always taught me from day one. And I was so motivated because they all worked at railways or worked at the bus company or wherever it was. They might have earned $45,000, $50,000 a year, but they had 10 properties. And I was always told it's not what you make out of selling real estate, it's what you make out of buying real estate. So
definitely. With that, Dave, too, there's a lot of people who could seduce you as well. So what I mean by that is make a proactive decision on what your wealth creation is going to look like, right? Because you and I have both been caught up. I remember, once, I think, investing in an emu farm, and then another time investing in a bloody in racehorses and all this sort of. So you're better off proactively saying, you know what, unless it's blue chip shares or good real estate, I'm not interested. That way, it's a bit like I either take drugs or I don't. So if someone's like, oh, here's some drugs, like, I don't take drugs. Okay, great. No worries, move on to the next thing. So if someone says to you, oh, I've got this amazing opportunity, because it's going to happen, right? I got this amazing opportunity, you got to invest in it. So it's like, well, is it blue chip shares or an index fund, or is it real estate? No, not interested, next. Otherwise, if you don't make that proactive decision, like Dave and I have paid the stupidity tax, because we're a little bit older, where we've been seduced by that. And when you've got a bit more disposable income, it's very easy to say, oh, it's only 10 grand or 20, but it all adds up, So
Compound.
I think that's that's an important one as well.
Yeah, and I think, as agents, we have this sense of entitlement, but, we think we're the one there that turns up in the suit and the car, but our clients is so much of a wealth of knowledge. And guys, are really, any client that owns a few properties is to sit down when you're selling their properties. Once you've listed it and really have a chat. One of my favorite questions, if you had your time again, what would you do different, or any mistakes you've made? And that's where the real lessons are. Mate, I know especially like Batesy, he's had a really solid year. He's averaging about 100 a month, and I know he'd love to go to 150. And there's other people at different levels in the business that want to go to that next level. If you want to improve that 10, 20%, you've sort of hit that ceiling. What do we need to do to break that ceiling?
Yeah, so it's going to sound a bit rudimentary, Dave, but the reality is we've got to be more, not do more. What I mean by that is that when we've got the opportunity, say someone like Batesy who's in momentum, we've got listings or whatever, are we squeezing the lemon like realistically with every single listing, every single sale? Do we have a 3 or 4 point checklist item that every time we list and sell a piece of real estate, there's a few activities that we undertake that are called success marketing, for example? So 100% of the time, every listing, every sale, are we door knocking, cold calling, social media, calling every single inquiry, asking if they own a piece of real estate, and making sure that there's no stone left unturned. So I don't think it's necessary. What I'm saying is I think it's more organic than actually finding an extra 1 or 2 listings a month. I actually think that those 1 or 2 listings a month will come from just going deeper and into more breadth, if you like, with your incumbent success, whether it's the listings or the sale. I think that lemon can be squeezed a little bit tighter to make sure that we're making sure that we're asking for a review on every single property, making sure that everyone knows about that listing and sale, because I do think that there's a few more leads and gold nuggets in the inquiry that we've attracted, or the success marketing that we're doing or not doing, that will eventuate into that extra listing or sale. So that's someone who's already in momentum, but it's a different story if you sort of, if you got 0 or no listings, then it's going to be a whole different strategy, which is, maybe calling, off the back of just community sales. You don't have to claim that they're yours or whatever, but, literally door knocking or call and say, I'm just providing a community service to let you know this property just sold. Are you planning to sell at any stage? And then getting in the door that way, So it's either off your existing sales or anyone's sales, really.
And then it compounds from there. I mean, if he gets 1 extra a month, before you know it, in 3 months, it's 2 extra a month. It just keeps compounding.
Yeah.
We've obviously COVID up in the region, mid North Coast. We've inquiry level's been a lot more than we've ever had to deal with. A lot of people haven't had holidays. Like I can see Lee Dixon's face. She went from property management into sales, and then her sales business has expanded. So energy and managing energy is huge for our team. We're coming into a busy time, so it's probably not perfect for holidays. The market's good. We want to make sure we have next year with momentum. How to finish off today, some tips on balancing our energy now. When we've got momentum, we don't really want to stop, but we want to keep going. How do we do it?
Yeah, it's a great question because look, everyone's feeling a bit tired and lethargic. There's no doubt about it. However, it's the wrong time because obviously we've had that sort of forced period where we haven't been able to do as much as we'd love to, and we're just about to launch into a high productivity, high volume, high activity period. So really, let's assume that you can't go on that a longer holiday as you think that you might need to. I think going back to again, I'm a big believer in sort of, living life in daily compartments. So when I talked about being on purpose per day, then I look at daily compartments, meaning that don't think beyond sort of a week or 2 weeks or what. It's like today, am I going to do my morning ritual to make sure my energy levels are high? Now, what's a morning ritual look like for you? It could be exercise, meditation, swimming, journaling, walking your dog, whatever it is. I genuinely feel that how you start your day will definitely determine the frequency of energy and the rest of the day, right? So you got to just live life in 24-hour cycles. Otherwise, it's too overwhelming. So, making sure that whatever it is to switch you over, because I know if I have a day off the gym or a day off not walking, my energy is nowhere near as good. And worse, Dave, my headspace is nowhere near as good.
Yeah.
So it affects both. So the other thing that I've started to do recently as well is and this, I don't want to get sort of too spooky or philosophical or whatever, but it's helped for a few clients of mine who have said to me, you know what, I'm just so drained, so tired, whatever. And I've said, close your eyes for a minute and pretend your body has a voice and pretend it's a separate entity and it's going to talk to your brain, right? If it had a voice, what is your body telling you to do? And this guy said, mate, sleep for a whole day. And I said, great, do it. Go and sleep for a whole day, right? And then he called me the next day and he said, man, genuinely, when you told me to do that, it genuinely felt that my body did have a voice and it was talking to me, and he felt outstanding, for the rest of the week. You know what I mean? So, and your body might be telling you, for example, eat better foods, dude, or it might be, go for that walk, whatever it is, but your body does have it is a separate entity, and it does talk to the brain, but not often we listen to it. But I'm saying proactively and consciously close your eyes for a minute and just assume that it does have a voice. What would it tell your brain to do? And
Mine's
I think
telling me to
that
have 8 tequilas.
Yeah, well, that's fine too. That's fine too, because that might actually just create a bit of fun and put you in a different state and a good energy, So that might be the case. Now
just to finish, I'm just going to finish off because I've got some points for the team. You know what? That Simon Sinek guys, when you look at infinite and finite days, and I can just now see fucking Brendan's dead set up, and he was caught up in the murk and all this and being number one and all this other bullshit that comes. And I know Brendan won't mind me sharing. Guys, let's just forget about the voices, yeah? Let's forget about what our opposition are doing. Let's just build our lives. And, I can see Alison's head, Dan's head, G's head. We've all got different lives that we want to build. Let's forget about what our competitors are doing. Let's even forget what our teammates are doing other than the good stuff. Just concentrate on what you want to write, what you need to do, what you want to write to then give your life that you need. If we all do that, we'll all be happy. And I don't care if we're number 5, number 1, number 2. But I'm telling you, if we live like that, we will be number 1. You know what I mean? Because that happiness will bring peace. Yeah. And what are your thoughts on that statement, AB?
Oh, 100%. My 3 mantras, Dave, is be on purpose, at peace, and in rhythm. Those 3 things to me is how I live my daily life. So on purpose, we talked about. At peace means you've reached a level in your life where you don't want drama, you don't want acrimony, you don't want to have cantankerous conversations with your partner or colleagues or opposition or clients, right? And in rhythm, to me, means having great energy, great electricity on a daily basis with whatever you're doing and with whoever you're dealing with. So on purpose, at peace, in rhythm. That's my 3 daily mantras, man. And that just keeps me in a really good headspace and keeps me really focused,
All right, team. I hope you got heaps out of that. Next session we do with AB is going to be talking about EBUs, and make sure you switch on even if you're not looking to build an EBU, because it'll explain the different compartments that we all need in our own business. All right, guys. Have a great day. Check you.
Have a great day. See you guys.
Thanks, Bowie. Thanks, mate.
Okay, bye.